Hello, Princess on a Pillow here. I am here to do a review on the Bobby DeBarge story. I watched it yesterday or last night on VH1. Came on around 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. And I just want to come and do a review on it. The story was pretty interesting. I never ever heard of Bobby DeBarge. I've heard of the DeBarge family. I love the DeBarge family. I love their songs. Songs are awesome. And Bonnie DeBarge, she's the only girl in the family, and she had her own album also. And her voice is beautiful, beautiful. So anyway, I never heard of Bobby DeBarge, so I wanted to watch to see what his story was all about. And I figured the DeBarge family would, because you can't tell a story about yourself and not include part of your family. So I figured that part of the DeBarge legacy would be included in his story. We'll find out where they came from, what type of family they came from and family environment they came from and stuff like that. So anyway, let's get with it. Okay, the story starts out with Bobby DeBarge in the hospital. And I didn't know what was wrong with him. He didn't look like he was beaten up. I didn't know what was wrong with him. But his mom was there in the hospital with him. Then his wife, I guess. I didn't know. At first I didn't know who she was, but I figured that was his wife. And then his father made an appearance, and then his siblings were in the hallway, and they were looking at his father like his father was some kind of a disease victim, or I don't know. They just wasn't thrown in love to the dad. But that's what the beginning of the story looked like. Alright, let me see. So what else happened? So first off, the Barge, the mother is black and she's religious. The dad is white and he's very abusive. He was very abusive. And I think it was mentioned that there were 10 DeBarge kids altogether. 10. And I think a set of twins. A set of twins including with the 10. So Bobby DeBarge felt like he was abused more by his father than any of the other kids. So he resented his father for that. There was a scene when there were kids and the dad told Bonnie, she's the only girl, told Bonnie to come upstairs with him into the attic. And Bobby tried to protect her. He tried to tell her, no, don't go. And the father got it all in his face and said, who the hell are you? Just got all in his face, yelling and screaming at him. But she ended up going anyway. I guess she wanted to keep the peace, so she went upstairs in the attic with her dad. And there was another scene where the mom confronted the dad about touching and kissing and having sex with Bonnie. And when she did that, he backhanded her. So, he abused the mom, he abused the daughter, he abused, Bobby. So as an adult, Bobby is resentful of his abusive father. And he's resentful of his mother for not protecting them from the father's abuse. But I think in that day and age, it was pretty hard for her to protect them from him. She's a black woman with 10 kids for a white man. And this was in the, I think, they probably grew up in the late 50s, early 60s. I can't imagine what she would do. I mean, how would she leave with 10 kids? Where would she go? How would she support 10 kids on her own? So I think it would be pretty hard for her to leave that abusive relationship when there were kids. Something is flashing like on my camcorder. I don't know if it's a bad flash or a good flash, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah. So I think it would be pretty hard for her to leave with 10 kids. All by herself in that day and age. So I think he should have given his mom a little bit of slack. She did confront him about, him messing with Bonnie, and she got slapped in the face for that. So, I think he should give her a little bit of slack. I mean, I don't know exactly everything that happened in the family, but I don't know. Anyway, he gave her a pretty hard time in the movie, in the show, about her going back, leaving the father and then going back to him. I guess it was too hard for her, So the DeBarge kids used to practice singing in the basement. They were story was a little bit similar to the Jacksons. You know, they sang in their house. There was a whole bunch of them. Parents weren't ideal parents. You know, they had their own strict beliefs and stuff. Anyway, Bobby ended up being in a group called The Switch. Never heard of that. Never heard of them. I should Google them and see what kind of songs they sang. They used to sing, because I never ever heard of that group, The Switch. And The Switch consisted of Bobby, he was the lead singer, and another brother, maybe another older brother. I don't know if Bobby was the elder brother or him was. I think they mentioned it, but I can't remember. Anyway, but it was Bobby, who was the lead singer, a brother, and another guy that wasn't a part of the DeBarge family. There's three of them in a group. The name of the group was Switch. Never heard of it. So Bobby is a drug addict, and it looked like he's addicted to crack cocaine. I don't even know anything about crack cocaine, but in the scene he looked like he had a little tube thingy, and he was putting these white rocks into the little tube thingy, lighting it with a lighter, and just inhaling it. I guess that's crack cocaine. I don't know nothing about no crack cocaine. Don't want to know, but I'm assuming that's what it was. And it seemed like Jermaine Jackson and his wife Hazel Gordy were the ones that discovered that group, or discovered that group, found Bobby. And Bobby also dated LaToya Jackson. Bobby DeBarge dated LaToya Jackson. So eventually Bobby brought 3 other DeBarge boys, his brothers, and Bonnie to California. I guess I think they're from Memphis. I can't remember. They mentioned it, but I didn't pay attention to that. But he brought 3 of his brothers, I think it was 3, and Bonnie, the only daughter, to California and introduced them to Jermaine. And Jermaine introduced them to Gordy, and Gordy heard them sing in the studio and decided to make them stars. And that was the beginning of the DeBarge, the famous DeBarge group, which I love. Eventually, Bobby's drug use got out of control, and they dropped him from the label. Dumb. He's dumb. But anyway, I can't say that, because when you're addicted to something, you're addicted to something, and nothing else matters. So at a party, Bobby meets this pretty girl. He ends up courting her, and he marries her, and they have 2 kids. So again, he's not on the label anymore. So he's not singing anymore. He's not performing anymore. So he's not making any more money. So he decides to go into the drug business. So we see him at home with his wife and kids, and they go upstairs, go to bed, and we see a scene where he's strapping drugs to his little brother. I guess this was one of his younger brothers that wasn't in the group DeBarge. This guy looked really, really young, but he's strapping drugs to his brother's body. His brother put on his shirt, his jacket, and next thing we see, his brother's in the airport, going through the airport, and gets arrested by DEA. The poor guy. So anyway, let me see what happens next. So the next thing we see is the DEA comes to Bobby's house. They just raid his house, came to his house, got him and handcuffs him and drags him out of the house, and next thing you know, he's in prison or in jail. While in jail, the inmates are making fun of him because he sings, and they all end up beating him up. So he ends up going to seeing a doctor for his bruises, and he has this cough. And the doctor says, I don't like that cough. Let's check that cough out. So I guess he ran tests on him. And the next scene is they're telling him that he is HIV positive. And he is shocked and devastated. So the next scene we see him telling his wife. His wife comes to visit. My hair, I just wet it. And it's just shrinking up and looking crazy. Anyway, the next scene we see is, his wife comes to visit him in jail. And he tells her that he's HIV positive. And they cry together and everything. 5 years later, he's out of jail, and his mom and his sister, his mom, his wife, and his 2 kids are there to meet him. And then that same year, 1995, that same year, he dies. So that was his life. I've never ever heard of Bobby DeBarge. But the story was very interesting, but there are a few things there are a few scenes I didn't mention. I forgot to mention a few scenes where Bobby introduces James DeBarge to Janet Jackson, and they start dating. And we saw a scene where James DeBarge asked Janet Jackson to marry him, because there was rumors going on that they got married secretly and they had a baby, and we don't know what happened to the baby. There's all kinds of things going on in here today. There's a light, a colorful light coming from the TV. I don't know. I get distracted easily. Anyway, yeah. James DeBarge, Bobby introduced Janet to James DeBarge. They started dating, and then James DeBarge asked her to marry him, and that was that. We didn't see anything else about that. But back in the day, I did hear rumors about James DeBarge and Janet Jackson getting married and having a baby. But the story died after that. And there was another scene where when Bobby's drug addiction got out of control, and Jermaine tells him, "You're not gonna see LaToya anymore. That's it." And he was like, "Well, I gotta hear that from LaToya." And he was like, "You're hearing it from me, and that's that. You're not seeing LaToya anymore." And that was that with with Bobby and LaToya Jackson. And at the beginning of the story, you see, I mentioned at the beginning of the story where all his siblings were at the hospital. And then he starts coughing really, really badly, and then I guess that's the day he died, and he's reflecting on his life. The story was, like I said, was interesting, but there's a few questions I have. Like, when did their mother leave the father, and how did she end up leaving the father? I want to see that, you know? And how did Bobby get started in the music industry? We see that Jermaine Jackson and his wife, Hazel Gordy, you know, were his manager or whatever they were, but they're the ones that, you know, were involved with him. So I guess they're the ones that discovered him. But I would like to see how that happened, you know. I'd like to see how he got started in the music business, how he left his parents' house, that abusive house, and got started in the music business. And I would like to see the initial meeting of him meeting LaToya Jackson. Bit my damn jaw. Okay. When he met LaToya Jackson, I would like to see that, you know, when he met LaToya. And I also want to know what happened to his baby brother. Did he go to jail for 5 years also? He was the one carrying the drugs. He was the one that got arrested, and I guess he told, you know, I got the drugs from my brother. But we never told us or showed what happened to the baby brother who carried the drugs through the airport. I would like to see what happened to him, you know. And his wife had 2 kids for him. Did she have HIV virus also? I mean, they never mentioned that. They never mentioned anything about that. So I would like to know that, you know. So, you know, yeah, the story was interesting, but they left a few, I know they can't cram everything in 1 hour, but I think they should have mentioned those things. Those things I would like to have known about. So, yeah, the story was interesting, and I'm glad I watched it. At least I know a little bit more about the DeBarge and how they got started, even though I didn't know anything about Bobby DeBarge. I think I'll go Google him and see what songs he sang. But that was it. So, Princess on a Pillow here. Thank you very much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.